Many folks in this part of Missouri think of Lake of the Ozarks as Lake of the Hibdons. You see, for generations, every fish caught here seemed to have their name on it.
It's been in the Hibdon family forever. I mean, my uncle, he fished too and guided, and both of my brothers, they guided. We ain't never known nothing else.
Guido Hibdon is, of course, one of professional fishing's all-time greats. But he'll be the first to tell you much of what's made him famous came from his father, the fishing guide. Joe Hibdon was a local legend.
Whenever he didn't go fishing, don't you bother to go because they weren't gonna bite.
Guido guided too, starting at age 12. Eventually, he entered and then won his very first pro tournament on his home lake. It was the beginning of a remarkable career. Along the way, he also raised a family of his own, including son Dion.
When I was little, I mean, my dad was he was a god. He walked through the world and people got the heck out of the way.
No wonder. Guido seemingly won every tournament he entered. One season he won Angler of the Year on 4 different tours.
It was crazy how much better he was than everybody else, you know, and I got to see that.
When he was old enough, Dion entered the family business too, turning pro right after high school. He was good, but it took him 10 long years to learn how to win. When he did, Dion was a changed man.
He was forever Guido's son. After he won, then he was Dion. Made a big difference in him. Gave him a lot more confidence.
Stella Hibdon knew her son had finally emerged from his father's sizable shadow, and no one was prouder than Guido. Even after all these years, he still can't put it into words.
I just have a hard time doing it, you know. Sorry about that, but I do. And when he won, pretty special.
Dion Hibdon is your champion.
Dion kept on winning, becoming one of the elite few to win both the Bassmaster Classic and the Forest Wood Cup.
Everybody thinks that I taught Dion everything he knows, and there isn't anything further from the truth.
There's one thing that he told me from the day I started. He says, you'll never substitute time on the water. You know, time on the water is the whole key.
Dion's now the one sharing the wisdom to his son. Peyton Hibdon is embarking on his rookie year as a pro angler. He's already won one coveted junior championship.
That's the proudest moment in bass fishing for me, is when Peyton won, you know, the youth championship.
Interesting how history has a way of repeating itself in the Hibdon family.
There's one thing that I am the most proud of, and that is the third generation to get it done.
In fact, a third generation on tour is a first in professional fishing.
And it's a big deal for me just to be fishing, but to have my dad and my grandpa fishing makes it that much better.
Better because they travel together, stay together, and eat together. But on the water, that togetherness ends, because each has his own distinctive fishing style.
Well, Dad will go into an area and spend the whole day until he figures out how to make them bite, you know. And I can't do that. I'm not gonna do that. You know, if I go in there and I don't catch one in a few minutes, my butt's going somewhere else.
Peyton is more like his grandfather. They still spend hours together on the lake and in the family workshop.
My grandpa is the smartest human being I know in everything. I mean, on the water, off the water, day after day, thinks everything through.
Those two guys are the most patient guys with a cast that I've ever seen. And it drives me nuts to fish with either one of them.
Yet Peyton also has his dad's knack for finding fish in changing conditions. Dion believes all his son needs now is more time on the water.
It's gonna be pretty scary when he finally figures it all out.
Of course, until then, he'll get, and sometimes have to endure, plenty of free advice.
It's endless. We could sit and talk about what advice they've given me for 2 weeks and still keep going.
There's one thing they all agree on, the secret ingredient that keeps them catching big bass.
Granny. Granny for sure. She makes the wheels go round.
We're a pretty close-knit group. I mean, we spend a lot of time together. You know, I've never been to a tournament without Stella. Now that's pretty hard to imagine.
If she didn't go, we wouldn't go. Simple as that. I don't know what I'll do when they decide to quit.
If Fishing Wives had a Hall of Fame, Stella would be a charter member. She takes care of everything on the road so that her husband, son, and now grandson can just concentrate on fishing.
They have to be able to concentrate on what they're doing. If they don't, they can't do it. And if I have to take that little extra step to get that off so they can, I guess that's how we've got where we've got.
It's family policy. On tour, they support each other rather than compete against one another. The hope is that one day, all three will wind up on the same leaderboard.
We'll get hit with the right situation one of these days where we got the right cricket and we know where to throw it and what to do with it, and we'll all end up in top 10. It'll be crazy.
I'll probably have a heart attack.
If she survives the thrill, it's likely she'll be pulling for youth over experience.
Should definitely root for the grandson, but we all will.
Yes, it's all for one on tour, but back on Lake of the Ozarks, the title of Best Family Fisherman gets pretty intense.
We compete against each other. It's when we get on Lake of the Ozarks or Truman, and they act like they can beat the old man, and that ain't never gonna happen. I save up my Wheaties and eat them all at one time.
Stella prefers to serve up her own breakfast of champions. And who knows, one day she may need to set another place at the table.
I got something I'll bet you though. I bet there's another Hibdon that wins one.
Lawson Hibdon, one of Peyton's younger brothers, is already angling for a shot at the big time.
He is probably, out of all the Hibdons, he's the most intense out of all of us.
It would only add to the Hibdon legacy, a story of father and son, and son and son.
I regret that Guido's dad didn't live long enough to see what his son's done. To come from what he's come from, like I say, just a family of plain old hillbilly fishermen. That's all they've ever known. None of them had any education. Yeah, pretty proud.
Feels good. I mean, it feels good.